Hello, hello, hello. It is your mom of three in warm NYC, and I am back with another video. Yay! To all my A1 Day 1 subscribers, you know I heart you, and I appreciate each and every one. Don't you ever forget that. Don't ever forget that I, Taneza, appreciate you. If this is your first time on my channel, come on through. My name is Taneza. I am the mother of three watchful. My kids do not miss a thing. Maybe it's like being an NYC kid. My kids do not miss a thing. Borderline nosy, but they don't miss a thing. Oh, I love that about them. They are sharp. Anywho, I would love for you to join my YouTube family, my tribe, and all you have to do is hit that button down below. Which one? The one that says subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. SUBSCRIBE. Okay now? God, I have music for days for you guys. So within my tribe is a special group of people, my Bible scholars, who are reading with me through the Bible this year. For me, it's the very first time. For some of my Bible scholars, like Miss Arlene, it's not her first time. I mean, not new to this, true to this. And so we are smack dab in the middle of 1 Kings. This video is a review of 1 Kings chapters 18 and 19. You do not need a Bible to be part of this mission with us. I will put every verse that I read on the screen, and then you can follow along. I'll be using the NIV translation. Any translation you have is perfect. Let's just jump into it. All right. I have a lot to read today. All right. So 1 Kings chapter 18. We are now 3 years into this drought. The Lord instructs Elijah, verses 1 and 2. After a long time, in the 3rd year, the word of the Lord came to Elijah. Go, present yourself to Ahab. I will send rain on the land. So Elijah went to present himself to Ahab. The famine was severe in Samaria. So guys, fun fact, I have a cousin named Obadiah. I sure do. I have a cousin named Obadiah. Shout out to my auntie, Michelle. Hey, auntie. All right, let's get back to the text. Obadiah was in charge of Ahab's palace. Obadiah was a devout believer. Obadiah had even hidden and supplied with food and water 100 prophets. Ahab told Obadiah that they're going to go through springs and valleys, and they're going to look for grass for their animals, their horses, and their mules to eat. And so they divide and conquer. They divided the land, and they each went their own way. Again, they're looking for grass so that they can feed their animals and won't have to kill their animals because of the drought, famine. While on his mission of finding grass, Obadiah ran into Elijah. Obadiah recognized Elijah. He bowed down to the ground and he asked him, was it really him? Verse 8 of chapter 18. Yes, he replied. Go tell your master Elijah is here. Obadiah was like, what? He's like, hold up, wait a minute. Obadiah said that would be a death sentence. According to Obadiah, King Ahab has been searching for Elijah. Obadiah told Elijah that Ahab would kill him if he, the king, were unable to find Elijah. Verse 15, Elijah said, As the Lord Almighty lives, whom I serve, I will surely present myself to Ahab today. So it's okay, Obadiah. Go tell the king that you've seen me, because I'm going to present myself to him today. No, he won't have to look for me. I'm coming. Obadiah met Ahab and told him about Elijah. Ahab went to meet Elijah. Ahab called Elijah a troubler of Israel. I wanted to read verses 18 and 19. I have not made trouble for Israel, Elijah replied. You and your father's family have. You have abandoned the Lord's command and have followed the Baals. Again, the Baals are the false gods, lowercase g. Verse 19, summon the people from all over Israel to meet me on Mount Carmel, and bring the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah who eat at Jezebel's table. Ahab had all the prophets assembled. Elijah asked the people, how long are they going to waver between the Lord and Baal? If the Lord is God, follow him. If Baal is God, follow him. The prophets didn't say anything. They were silent. Elijah tells the prophets to choose 2 bulls. They're going to have one and he's going to have one. We're going to cut the bull into pieces and put it on wood. Then they're going to each call on the names of their gods. Whichever God produces fire is God, capital G. We each get a bull. You guys get a bull. I'll get a bull. We will prepare the bull, cut it up, lay it on the wood. But we're not going to add fire. We're going to call on our gods for fire. And whichever God provides the fire is God. So they did just that. I wanted to read for you. I didn't want to summarize it because the Bible writes it so beautifully. Verses 26, 27, 28, and 29. So they took the bull given them and prepared it. They called on the name of Baal from morning until noon. "Oh, Baal, answer us," they shouted. But there was no response. No one answered. They danced around the altar they had made. At noon, Elijah began to taunt them. "Shout louder," he said. "Surely he is a god. Perhaps he is deep in thought, or busy, or traveling. Maybe he is sleeping and must be awakened." So they shouted louder, and they slashed themselves with swords and spears, as was their custom, until their blood flowed. Midday passed. They continued their frantic prophesying until the time for the evening sacrifice. But there was no response. No one answered. No one paid attention. Elijah called the prophets to him. Elijah took 12 stones. He built an altar in the name of the Lord. He built a trench around the altar. I wanted to read verses 33, 34, and 35. He, Elijah, arranged the wood, cut the bull into pieces, and laid it on the wood. Then he said to them, "Fill 4 large jars with water, pour it on the offering and on the wood." "Do it again," he said. They did it again. "Do it a 3rd time," he ordered, and they did it the 3rd time. The water ran down around the altar and even filled the trench. My Bible scholars know this, but if you're new to my channel, this Bible was a gift from my now husband, then boyfriend, in 2006. And so I love to read out loud all the verses that he had underlined. I like to share it with you guys. So he actually has underlined chapter 18, verses 36 through 42. So I'm going to read all those verses out loud. At the time of sacrifice, the prophet Elijah stepped forward and prayed, "O Lord, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, Let it be known today that you are God in Israel. I am your servant and have done all these things at your command. Answer me, O Lord, answer me, so these people will know that you, O Lord, are God, that you are turning their hearts back again. Then the fire of the Lord fell and burned up the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, and the soil, also licked up the water in the trench. And all the people saw this, they fell prostrate and they cried, "The Lord, he is God. The Lord, he is God." Elijah commanded them, "Seize the prophets of Baal. Don't let anyone get away." They seized them. Elijah had them brought down to the Kishon Valley and slaughtered there. Elijah said to Ahab, "Go, eat and drink, for there is the sound of a heavy rain." Again, God made a promise. If Elijah went to Ahab, he would send rain and end this drought. So Ahab went off to eat and drink, but Elijah climbed to the top of Carmel, bent down to the ground, put his face between his knees. Elijah then tells his servant to go look toward the sea. "There's nothing there," he said. Elijah said, "Go back." Nothing there. 6 more times. On the 7th time, the servant said, "There is a cloud as small as a man's hand that's coming up from the sea." Elijah tells the servant to go tell Ahab to go down, get your chariot, and to go down before the rain stops you. Verses 45 and 46. The sky grew black with clouds. The wind rose. A heavy rain came on, and Ahab rode off to Jezreel. The power of the Lord came upon Elijah. Tucking his cloak into his belt, he ran ahead of Ahab all the way to Jezreel. The rain came. Chapter 19. Ahab told Jezebel what Elijah had done, killing all the, and I have in my notes in parentheses, false prophets. Verse 2. So Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah to say, "May the gods deal with me, be it ever so severely, if by this time tomorrow I do not make your life like that of one of them." I would like to read verse 4 as Hubsters has it underlined. So Elijah was afraid of Jezebel's threat, and he ran for his life. In verse 4, he himself went a day's journey into the desert. He came to a broom tree, sat under it, and prayed that he might die. "I have had enough, Lord," he said. "Take my life. I am no better than my ancestors." He lay down under the tree, and he fell asleep. Elijah was afraid, ran for his life. An angel touched him while he was sleeping. The angel instructed him to get up and eat. There was bread and a jar of water. Elijah ate and he lay back down. A second time, the angel touched him, instructing him to eat. He did so. Because Elijah was strengthened by that food, he was able to travel. He was able to travel 40 days and 40 nights until he reached Horeb. The Lord asked Elijah, "What are you here for?" Verse 10, he replied, "I have been very zealous for the Lord God Almighty. The Israelites have rejected your covenant, broken down your altars, and put prophets to death with the sword. I am the only one left, and now they are trying to kill me too." The Lord tells Elijah, "Go and stand on the mountain. The Lord will pass by. A great wind comes. The Lord is not in the wind. A great earthquake comes. The Lord is not in the earthquake. A great fire comes. The Lord is not in the fire." Instead, a gentle whisper asks Elijah what he is doing there. Elijah repeats about how faithful, his faithfulness. Verse 15, 16, 17, and 18. The Lord said to Elijah, go back the way you came. Go to the desert of Damascus. When you get there, anoint Hazael king over Aram. Also anoint Jehu, son of Nimshi, king over Israel. Anoint Elisha, son of Shaphat, from Abel Meholah, to succeed you as a prophet. Jehu will put to death any who escaped the sword of Hazael. Elisha will put to death any who escaped the sword of Jehu. Yet I reserve 7,000 in Israel, all whose knees have not bowed down to Baal, all whose mouths have not kissed him. Elijah found Elisha plowing with oxen. He threw his cloak on him. Elisha tells Elijah that he wants to kiss his father and mother goodbye, then he will come with him. Chapter 19 ends with verse 21. Elisha left him and went back. He took his yoke of oxen and slaughtered them. He burned the plowing equipment to cook the meat and gave it to the people, and they ate. Then he set out to follow Elijah and became his attendant. Wow. A lot happened in those 2 chapters. The drought ended after 3 years. Elijah was obedient. All right, Bible scholars, as always, questions, comments, or revelations, leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in our next review. We will be covering chapters 20 and 21. It's always a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you in our next review. Bye for now, Bible scholars.